Pick up any newspaper, watch cable news channels, surf internet news websites. It's all yesterday's news today. You need tomorrow's news today. You need Trends Vision 2020 now with Gerald Celente.
Welcome to Trend Vision 2020. I'm your host, Doug Grunther, in conversation with the publisher of the Trends Journal and leading trend expert, Gerald Celente. Gerald, let's get rocking. What happened in the global markets today?
Well, you know, it's a mixed day. Not a lot happening. And S&P 500 snaps, NASDAQ snaps, 3-day winning streak, Facebook shares slide. But here's the important one. New home sales in the U.S. fell 6.9% in January, which was more than expected, and a sign the U.S. government shutdown could have kept buyers on the sidelines. You know what that is?
Bullshit level, DEFCON 5.
Yeah, it's total bullshit. The reason why home sales are down is interest rates are too high. People aren't making enough money. Interest rates have to go lower, and you're going to see home sales go up. Had nothing to do with that.
Even though mortgage rates are still at pretty historic low numbers.
Well, they're still not low enough. They're what, about 4.45 for a 30-year. They got to go lower.
What are the chances of that happening?
Very good, because it's the presidential reality show. Trump is in the real estate business. He wants to win the election. If they raised interest rates 9 times in 6 years, they could lower them, and we forecast they're going to.
Okay.
So also, important, oil. Oil prices would have gone up higher. They're at a 4-month high, but this is important. If oil prices keep going up, consumers have less money to spend. The dollar's getting stronger. That's why gold prices went down so much today. That means that countries like India and others, when their currencies go down, it costs them more to buy oil because oil is based in petrodollars.
That sounds like U.S. money to me.
That's right. So if their currency goes lower, they got to spend more. So now you're seeing oil prices go up. But here's an important number that came out. Growth in China's industrial output fell to a 17-year low. Official data showed on Thursday, that means today, pointing to further weakness in the world's second largest economy, and they are the world's top crude oil importer. So what it means is we have a global slowdown going on. The United States has room to lower rates, other countries don't. And China's going to do everything they can to boost the markets up. So that's where we're at. Again, we don't see a recession happening this year, possibly next. But again, not in the United States because they have room to keep lowering interest rates, again, absent a wild card. Okay. So that's about it on the economic front.
All right, well, let's talk globally then. Big story today is Brexit. All right, and this is a mess because after voting for it, and it surprised everybody that the British people voted to leave the European Union, they don't know how to leave. And so they've just had to extend the deadline. How do you read this?
Well, again, it didn't surprise everybody. We knew it was going to happen. When you looked at the polls that was going on, there's these populist movements going around the world. The British want to be British. The French want to be French. The Italians want to be Italians. The Hungarians want to be Hungarians. The Poles want to be Poles, on and on. The Czechs, one country after another, they want to maintain their national identity. They feel that globalization, and that's why you see the yellow vest movements, they feel that globalization and these Eurozones have only enriched the rich. And they say that and they base it on the numbers. Because as we keep reporting, Oxfam just came out in January, shows that 26 people have more money now than half the world's population combined. So now in the Brexit vote, this is just going back to before that, they had a vote over there in Greece that they didn't want to abide by the IMF austerity measures.
International Monetary Fund?
No, Mafia Federation.
Okay, excuse me. I got
yeah, all right,
wrong.
yeah. The banksters. But you know what they said to the people? We don't care what you vote for. We're the politicians. We'll tell you what to do. And the same people are doing the same thing in England. So what they did today is they voted to extend the Brexit pullout, which is supposed to be in 2 weeks at the end of this month. And now they have to ask Brussels for permission.
Today we have a question to ask you, and I just want to remind our listeners that we want your questions. We'll make them part of our show. And to get a question to us, email trendvision2020@trendsresearch.com. That's trendvision2020@trendsresearch.com. Today's question, Gerald, comes from Daryl. Gerald, I'm a retiree and have a lot of money in bank deposits. How safe is this going forward over the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, send your money to Gerald Celente. No, it's safe. Unless, what is it? The FDIC insures it to what, 250,000?
Well, they raised it from 100,000 to 250,000 in the past few years.
So as long as it's under that, it's safe. And again, put it in a bigger bank. And again, I don't give financial advice. For me, I believe, speaking only for myself, to have 10% of your money in a safe haven asset, and that's gold, because there's no other safe haven asset. And staying on dollars, the dollar's getting stronger, even though the Federal Reserve said they're not going to raise interest rates. And the reason being goes back to what I said about China and other countries. The global economy is slowing down, and they don't have room to raise interest rates, and they have to juice their economies. So even though the United States has this $22 trillion worth of debt, our dollar's going up because the other currencies are getting weaker. So I would suggest to Daryl, if it's a major bank, and even if it's not, if it's FDIC insured, I think you're pretty safe.
And after bank deposits and gold, a good solid mattress.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I know you're going to like this because a big story last week was Ilhan Omar, one of the 2 Muslim American women who were voted into Congress in the recent midterms. And she got in some hot water because she actually had the audacity to say that, that Israel's got too much money behind it, especially when it comes to military, and she was called anti-Semitic. Republicans went haywire and said kick her off the committee.
So did Democrats.
Democrats did too.
Yeah.
They weaseled out a little bit and didn't include her name when they criticized, anti-Semitism. But here's a petition that was emailed to me by a friend of mine who's a very progressive attorney. This is a petition that has thousands of people have signed. And I think you're going to find it interesting because it says, "We are Jews who stand with Representative Ilhan Omar."
Oh.
All right? And here's what it says. "There is absolutely nothing anti-Semitic about calling out the noxious role of AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, which spends millions each year to buy U.S. political support for Israeli aggression and militarism against the Palestinian people. As the New York City chapter of Jewish Voice for Peace summed up, accurately describing how the Israel lobby works in this country is not anti-Semitic." So I'm glad that there was a pushback because this woman was really getting it from all sides.
Well, she also got it from all sides, saying that people shouldn't have dual loyalties to countries. As I say, my blood is Italian, but my heart's American. It's none of my business what goes on there in Italy, and I don't want 1 penny of my money going to Italy or any other country. And we're giving Israel, which is a very rich country, about $3.5 billion a year. And so they attacked her for that as well. And they're calling it, now you're not even allowed to say anything about Zionism because then you're anti-Zionist. I mean, that guy Herzl made up that thing, in about the 1880s, late 1800s. So, I mean, it's ridiculous that, again, I'm an American. That's where my heart is. No other country means anything to me. Only mine does.
Okay. Interesting 2 stories about a story that the Trends Journal has covered, but very little media coverage other than that, and that's what's going on in Yemen. It is an absolute monstrosity what Saudi Arabia is doing to that country. You have a humanitarian crisis, probably the worst in the world right now.
It is the worst.
You've got hundreds of thousands of kids starving, and finally we're getting some pushback on that. Interesting story coming out of Congress. Senate votes again to end aid to Saudi war in Yemen, defying Trump. The 54-46 vote condemned the nearly 4-year conflict in Yemen that's killed thousands of civilians and inflicted a devastating famine. So while we don't count on the Senate to do much, they are pushing back on
What the hell took them so long? Anyway, a big deal. Trump will probably veto it. And by the way, I said I don't care about other countries. Of course I care about other countries. And of course I love being an Italian. If I consider myself one of the luckiest men in the world, a Napolitano born in the Bronx, whew, that makes you free. So when I said I don't care about other countries, I really don't mean it like that. When I'm saying that my allegiance is the Pledge of Allegiance, and not allegiance to other nations.
Okay, but let's
and
get
staying
back to
on with
story.
this now.
This Yemen war is absolutely immoral, and all I'm saying is, while we don't count on the Senate for much, they are pushing back.
Yeah, they're pushing back a little bit. How about what's going on in Somalia? It doesn't even make the news. The United States bombs away over there, and also Venezuela. You don't see them coming out against that either. So yeah, they're doing a little something. To me, this is mostly lip service.
All right, how about this? I'm going to try again. I'm just looking for some glimmer of hope here.
Hope and change you can believe in. Vote for me, folks. I'll folk you.
Don't run for president. There are already 600 people actually registered to run for president. That's the truth. We'll be covering that a little bit later. There's a huge multi-million-dollar marketing firm in the U.S. called Endeavor, and they were hired by the Saudi government to promote Saudi cultural and art and business, right? Well, Endeavor got so angry about the murder of Khashoggi, the journalist, that they gave them back the $400 million and said, we're not going to market you anymore. We find what you're doing unconscionable. So all I'm saying is,
I think they're anti-Saudi, and if you're anti-Saudi, then you're anti-Semitic.
All right.
Because they're the Semites, right? Aren't they? Isn't that the Semite area?
Well, you know, my job is to cheer you up. This next story is guaranteed to cheer you up.
Okay.
You ready?
All right.
They're on a mission from God. These nuns believe cannabis is a gift from God, and they grow their own weed. Now we're talking. The Sisters of the Valley are a group of self-ordained nuns whose order was founded in 2014. They're not ordinary monastics. They love cannabis. All right? The sisters are running a successful business and extolling the virtues of marijuana, all the while living in a community of shared sisterhood. Now, they're not Catholic nuns. They're part of a spiritual group, but they believe in the healing power of cannabis.
Well, wait till you see a new Trends Journal coming out. That's the headline story. And what we're also doing, we're launching the Cannabis Freedom Act.
Cannabis Freedom Act. This will be in the Trends Journal coming out.
It's the cover of the Trends Journal.
Next couple of days.
Yep. And it's that government should have absolutely no control over what they're saying. God's plan to them.
They're saying, the nuns are saying it.
Nature's plan to others. For those that don't believe in their God, it's our plant like cucumbers, celery, carrots, cannabis. They have no right doing anything there. We're pushing a major movement. We want to have it on the ballot of every state in the 2020 elections to let the people vote whether they want government to control cannabis or no control.
Okay, and now by no control, you're not talking about medical, you're talking about the ability to grow in your own home.
Grow it in your home, do what you want to do with it, do whatever you want with it.
Now, I did a little research, and there are about half a dozen states that do allow you, with restrictions, to grow your own. So it's starting, but they put a limit of like 3 to 6
Yeah,
plants.
isn't it nice that they're allowing us? The same criminals who criminalized it are now telling us they're going to legalize it and give us the
all right, well, this
deal.
is part of the Trends Journal continuing cannabis
it's
coverage.
a big one.
And to subscribe to the Trends Journal and learn about this free cannabis movement, go to trendsresearch.com and subscribe.
And we have one of the world's leading cannabis experts, Bradford Beckerman. A big story about him, so it's just not words. You'll see the facts.
All right. Let's get into the presidential reality show, one of our continuing themes. Beto O'Rourke has thrown his hat in the ring. I looked up some of his key issues as a congressperson. He's against the drug wars. He's for more investment in renewable fuels and reducing carbon. He wants free pre-K education for everybody, particularly in inner cities. He wants to ban assault rifles. He wants a public option for all Americans for a government-run health plan. So there he's fairly progressive. Where he's weak from a progressive standpoint, and we know that the Democratic Party has moved left, where he's weak, he's not a vocal anti-war congressman, and he's for keeping NAFTA.
And not only that, he wants open borders. And that's going to, anyway, if you go back to January 8th, 2000, and 19, I forecast that Beto O'Rourke, this is just announced today.
Right.
I said this over 2 months ago, that he would be the Democratic choice to run against Trump. Democrat O'Rourke plans road trip to meet voters. Former Texas Representative Beto O'Rourke is asking aides to create an itinerary for him to take a solo road trip outside Texas, where he would, quote, pop into places such as community college campuses, blah, 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 blah. This guy's father-in-law is like a billionaire. That's why he's raising all this dough. This is the white Obama. This is who I forecast is going to be the leading contender in the presidential reality show 2020 on the Democratic side. Again, minus a wild card. They have been pumping him, the toilet paper of record, the New York Times, one feature story after another. And now he was also brought on Oprah's show, and she took him under her wing. And I wrote back when that happened with Obama when he ran. So now that Oprah's behind him and the media is pumping this guy like crazy, I think that's going to be the choice, because the Democrats, again, these things that they're, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do, we're going to get the money. We're going to get the money to do this. So you're going to see, he came out today also said, I'm a capitalist, while the others are playing the socialist card. So they know what he's doing. Oh, and by the way, he raised a lot of money during his campaign when he ran against Ted Cruz back in 2018 and lost. But his daddy-in-law is a billionaire. Okay, but I'm going to give, here's where I'll give the guy some credit. He, I think, has shown the rule book on how you win elections. And he lost to Ted Cruz by 2.7% in a state where, in a statewide election, Democrats lose by 20%. And the way he did it was, he went to all counties and he got a lot of young people knocking on doors. This is ground up campaign, as opposed to Hillary Clinton, who had big fancy dinners and big rallies. Beto understands you win elections by knocking on doors and going neighborhood to neighborhood, and he almost had the huge upset. So he's written a good playbook on how to get votes. And how to get votes is one thing, but who he is and what he stands for is a totally different thing. Well, we're going to find out a lot more, because now the spotlight will be on him, especially if he starts doing well in polls, which he will. To me, he's the white Obama. He's full of baloney. Folks, hope and change you can believe in. He's playing the Obama playbook straight ahead. All right. We're going to keep an eye on the presidential reality show. We're almost out of time, but I figure I would leave you with a laugh. Okay. And I'll tell you why. I thought you'd like this. You know, here at Trend Vision 2020, we want to try to keep our listeners healthy, right? Oh, yeah. Well, everybody knows this, but maybe not know the specifics of it. Laughing is good for the heart and can increase blood flow by 20%. Also, laughter increases the flow of endorphins. Now, endorphins are those hormones that act exactly as opiates, okay? So if, you know, whether you YouTube things, find things that make you laugh every day, you're replacing what opiates do. And it also increases serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter that antidepressants help to increase. So we're going to recommend as a trend every day have a I don't laugh. I love to laugh all the time. And by the way, you know how you make a hormone? No. You don't pay her. On that note, this is Doug Runther and Gerald Celente saying see you next week for Trend Vision 2020.